February 17, 1943, 0430 hours. The frozen hills outside Stalingrad, Soviet Union. A single German tank, its engine coughing in the sub-zero night, rolls into a valley that should be empty. But it's not. Hundreds of Soviet T-34s wait in the dark, hidden by snowdrifts. The German crew inside spots nothing at first, then tracer rounds light up the sky. The tank is alone, no backup for miles. Outnumbered 50-1. In the next 20 minutes, 28 men from the 6th Panzer Division will die right here, trapped in a noose they never saw closing. The commander of that lead tank, Hauptmann Karl Weber, grips the periscope handles. He's 32 years old. Sweat beads on his forehead despite the cold. His radio crackles with static, no response from the rest of his platoon. They're supposed to be right behind him, pushing through the encirclement to link up with trapped comrades in the city, but the snow hides everything. Weber scans the ridgeline. Shadows move. He whispers to his gunner, "Eyes sharp. Something's off." This moment didn't come out of nowhere. Rewind 6 months. Karl Weber grew up in a small town near Munich, son of a baker, joined the army at 18, right after the Anschluss. By 1941, he was in France, commanding a Panzer III in the dash across the Low Countries. Quick promotions followed. He was good at it, reading terrain, keeping his men alive. Weber wasn't the yelling type. He led by example. Steady hands on the controls, even when shells whistled overhead. That changed in the summer of 42. Operation Barbarossa had turned into a meat grinder outside Moscow. Weber's company got hit hard in the snows of December. They were retreating, fuel lines freezing, Soviet infantry closing in. One night near Vyazma, his tank bogged down in a ditch. Russians swarmed the position. Weber ordered his crew to fight from the hull. He climbed out, pistol in hand, and picked off 3 attackers before a grenade blast knocked him flat. Shrapnel tore his leg. He crawled back inside, got the engine roaring, and they punched out. Medics pulled 14 pieces of metal from him later. He walked with a limp for weeks, but refused a desk job. "War doesn't wait for limps," he told his wife in a letter home. Back in action by spring 43. Weber's reputation grew. Officers called him reliable. His men trusted him because he'd been there. The close calls, the decisions that meant life or death, like the time in Ukraine, summer 42. His platoon was spearheading an advance. Scouts reported a river-crossing mine. Weber halted the column, sent engineers ahead under cover of darkness. They lost 2 men to booby traps, but the rest crossed clean. Saved 40 vehicles from a potential ambush. He got a mention in dispatches. Iron Cross, 2nd class. Weber pinned it on without fanfare. "Just doing the job," he'd say. By February 43, the 6th Army was encircled in Stalingrad. Paulus's forces, 300,000 strong, cut off since November. Starving, freezing, fighting block by block in the ruins. Hitler ordered a breakout. But the relief effort, Operation Thunderbolt, fell to the 6th Panzer. Weber's division led the thrust from the west. They rolled out from Kalach on the 12th. Tanks rumbling over steppe, kicking up dust that turned to mud, then ice. Weber commanded a company of 12 panzers. His own was a Mark IV, fresh from the factory, 75mm gun, loaded with high explosive rounds. The plan seemed solid. Link up with a breakout force from the pocket by the 15th, supplies airdropped if needed. But the Soviets knew. Zhukov had reinforced the flanks. Weber's column pushed hard those first days. They overran a Soviet outpost on the 14th. 20 T-34s knocked out, 150 prisoners taken. Weber's tank led the charge, turrets swiveling, firing on the move. One shell from his gunner brewed up an enemy command vehicle. Cheers over the radio. Momentum felt real, but cracks showed. Fuel shortages, scouts vanishing in the snow. On the 16th, Weber's platoon scouted ahead. They crested a hill and dropped into a draw. Anti-tank guns opened up. 2 panzers hit, crews bailed out, cut down by machine guns. Weber reversed under fire, tracks chewing earth. He lost 4 men that afternoon. Radioed back. Terrain favors the enemy, need air support. None came. Luftwaffe grounded by weather. Night fell heavy on the 17th. Weber's company, down to 8 tanks, pressed on. Orders from above. Break through at all costs. The encirclement was tightening. Soviets had 100 suzerain troops on the perimeter now. Weber chose the valley route. Maps showed it clear. His lead tank rolled in first, lights off, engine idling low. The air smelled of diesel and frost. Inside, the crew tensed. Loader checked rounds. Driver nursed the throttle. Then it hit. Flares popped overhead, turning night to day. Soviet tanks materialized. Dozens, engines growling to life. Their 76mm guns barked first. A round slammed Weber's turret, spinning it 20 degrees. Alarms wailed. "Traverse left! Fire!" Weber shouted. His gunner squeezed off a shot, missed in the chaos. Tracers zipped past, close enough to hear the whine. The radio exploded with voices. "Ambush! We're hit!" Another panzer erupted in flames 200 meters back. Screams cut through the static. Weber's world narrowed to the sights. He spotted a T-34, 300 meters out, turret turning his way. "AP round, now!" The gun recoiled. Hit. The Soviet tank shuddered, black smoke billowing, one down. But more came. Shells cratered the snow around them. The driver yelled, "We're boxed! Reverse!" Track spun. But a round clipped the rear. Transmission whined, then died. They were stuck. Infantry poured from the ridges. Soviet submachine gunners, faces wrapped against the cold. Bullets pinged off the armor. Weber grabbed the machine gun, fired bursts through the hatch. Bodies dropped in the snow, but the noose closed. Friendly tanks? Silent. The valley echoed with explosions. Weber's loader took shrapnel to the arm, blood slicking the floor. "Hold on," Weber said, tying a tourniquet. Another shell rocked them. Hull breach. Fire licked inside. In those final seconds, Weber made the call. Abandon ship, head for the hills. They piled out, pistols drawn into the blizzard. Soviets closed in, 50 meters now. Weber covered the retreat, dropping 2 more. A burst caught his shoulder. He staggered on. 4 of his crew made the tree line. The rest didn't. Behind them, the tank burned, a pyre in the white waste. By dawn, the push collapsed. 6th Panzer lost 60 tanks that night. Weber's company wiped out. He linked up with stragglers, reported back. High command called it a setback. Weber knew better. Confidence in the encirclement had blinded them. The relief failed. Stalingrad's pocket held, for now. Weber got patched up, sent to the rear, but the limp worsened. The war took more from him that winter. This was just one valley, one night. But it showed how thin the line is between advance and annihilation. In war, overconfidence kills faster than bullets. Karl Weber wasn't born for this. He was just a kid from a quiet street in Rosenheim, 20 miles south of Munich. Baker's son. Flour-dusted aprons, the smell of fresh bread at dawn. His father baked for the locals, steady work through the depression. Weber helped after school, kneading dough, hauling sacks, strong hands early on. At 16, he fixed bicycles for neighbors. At 17, he eyed the army posters, promises of adventure, pay, purpose. Joined up in 37, basic training in Bavaria. Marches through pine forests, rifles heavy on shoulders. Instructors barked orders, but Weber adapted quick. He had a knack for machines, disassembled a carburetor blindfolded by week 3. Assigned to a panzer unit in 38. Poland came next, 39, his first taste of war. Riding in a Panzer II, turret cramped, engine rumble vibrating bones. They rolled across borders, dust clouds trailing. Weber manned the radio, calling coordinates. No big fights for him then, just the push, villages blurring past. France, May 40, that's when it sharpened. Weber's tank part of Guderian's spearhead. Ardennes forests, narrow roads choked with pines. They broke through, outflanking the Maginot Line. French Char B-1s lumbered into view one afternoon near Sedan. Heavy armor, 75mm guns. Weber's gunner fired first. High explosive round punched the track. The enemy tank slewed, exposed. Second shot, turret hit, flames erupted. Weber felt the heat through the vents. His crew cheered, quiet, focused. They knocked out 3 that day. Weber got his first medal, a wound badge later, when shrapnel nicked his arm from a near miss. He wrote home sparse letters. All fine. Weather good. His wife, Anna, waited in Rosenheim, married a year before the war. She worked the bakery now, kept the home fires. Weber dreamed of peace after. A garage of his own, fixing cars. But the front pulled him east. Barbarossa, June 41. Invasion of Russia. Endless steppe, heat waves shimmering. Weber's company crossed the border in Mark III's, 50mm guns upgraded. Smolensk by July. Soviet KV-1s appeared. Monsters, thick hides. One pinned them down near a river. Shells bounced off. Weber, flanked under smoke, got close. Point-blank shot to the side. Penetration. The KV brewed up, crew bailing into the grass. Weber's loader pulled one survivor aboard. Interrogation later, they learned of reinforcements massing. Winter hit like a hammer. December 41, outside Moscow. Temperatures plunged to -40. Engines froze overnight. Weber's platoon guarded a supply line. Soviet ski troops struck at dawn, white camouflaged, silent. They swarmed a convoy 500 meters back, trucks aflame, men shouting. Weber pivoted his tank, machine gun chattering. Dropped 5 attackers, but a T-34 slipped through, 76 simmered it around, glancing his hull. Vibration shook teeth. He reversed into a snowbank, called for support. Stukas dove in, bombs walking the line. The assault broke. Weber's crew dug in that night, sharing rations around a small fire. He lost a sergeant, gut shot, bled out before medics arrived. The retreat from Moscow tested him deeper. Fuel ran low. Roads turned to ice ruts. Weber's company, down to 6 tanks, screened the pullback. Near Kalinin, they hit a Soviet blocking force. Infantry with anti-tank rifles hidden in birch groves. Bullets sparked off armor. One Panzer took a Molotov through the engine grill. Fireball screams inside. Weber ordered a wedge formation, pushed through. His gunner nailed a PK-40 position at 400 meters. The breakthrough cost 2 more tanks. Weber pulled his driver from a wreck, shoulder burned, carried him 2 miles to a field hospital. "You owe me a beer," he told the man. The crew survived because Weber read the signs, scouts' reports, wind direction carrying engine smells. By spring 42, he commanded a platoon. Ukraine campaigns. Wheatfields burned, summer sun baking metal. Kharkov push. Weber's lead tank scouted a bridge. Engineers flagged it rigged. He halted the advance, night op to clear. Sappers crawled forward. Wires snipped under starlight. One tripwire caught. Blast lit the dark. 2 dead. But the path opened. His platoon crossed at dawn. Surprised a Soviet column. 8 T-34s destroyed, minimal losses. Weber's Mark IV took a hit to the tracks, repaired in hours. He pushed on, linking with infantry, captured a general's staff car, maps inside showing enemy lines. That intel shifted the flank. Awards piled up. Iron Cross in August 42, after a river crossing near Rostov. Scouts spotted mines, but currents swept them downstream. Weber's tanks forded under fire. Water churning to waist depth on the hulls. Mortars walked the bank. One shell holed a fuel tank, leaking, but they made it. On the far side, they hit a battery, silenced it, saved the bridgehead. Weber refused the promotion fanfare. "Men need leaders who stay in the fight," he said to his CO. Fall 42. Stalingrad loomed. The 6th Army drove into the city, house to house. Weber's division supported from the flanks. Urban chaos, tanks useless in rubble, snipers in every window. He lost his first tank there, September. Sniper round through the vision slit, killed the gunner. Weber climbed out, cleared the building with grenades, pulled the body free, fought on foot that day, pistol barking. By October, exhaustion set in, rations cut, dysentery in the ranks. Weber kept his men moving, rotating watches, sharing cigarettes. Pull back to the rear for refit. Weber trained new crews. Mark IVs arrived, long-barreled 75s. He drilled them hard. Gunnery ranges in the mud, night maneuvers. Terrain is the enemy too, he'd tell them. Spot weak points, use hull-down positions. His limp from Vyazma acted up in the cold, but he ignored it. Anna's letters urged caution. "Come home whole," he replied. "Soon." Encirclement hit November 23rd. Radio crackled with the news. Soviets closed the ring. 6th Army trapped. 250 Encirclement men. Weber's division outside reforming. High Command planned relief. Manstein's Army Group Don. Weber got the nod for the vanguard. His company loaded out December. Trains to the Don River, then overland. Adept winds howled. Tanks chained to flat cars. Crews huddled in boxcars. By January 43, positions set west of the pocket. Air recon showed gaps. Weber walked the maps with his officers. "We punch here. Link by the 15th. Confidence ran high. Paulus radioed from inside, holding Luftwaffe promised cover. Weber's men oiled breaches, checked tracks. He felt the weight, not just metal, but lives. 28 in his company, faces he knew, bakers, farmers like him. February 12th, they rolled. Weber's tank first in line. Engine torque pulled them over frozen earth. Dust gave way to snow. Outposts fell. Momentum built. But in the command tent nights, Weber stared at the charts. Soviet markers thickened. "They're waiting," he muttered once. Adjutant shrugged it off. "Numbers favor us." And the 16th brought doubt. Scout loss, ambush in the draw. Weber's voice steady on radio. "Pull back, regroup." 4 dead. He visited the wounded. Bandages, pale faces. "We'll get them next time." Inside, the math gnawed. Supplies low, weather worse. Night of the 17th, orders final, valley route. Weber nodded. Lights out. Slow advance. His crew loaded up. He gripped the periscope. The dark swallowed them. Confidence held, barely. That's when the encirclement bit back. The valley stretched out like a white scar under the moonless sky. Weber's Mark IV idled forward, tracks crunching fresh snow. No lights pierced the black. His driver, Fritz, kept the revs low, just enough to mask the growl. Inside, the air hung thick with sweat and cordite residue from the day's drills. Loader Hans checked the ammo rack. 12 high-explosive rounds, 8 armor-piercing. Gunner Otto peered through the sights, fingers loose on the trigger. They all knew the stakes. One wrong move, and the snow would bury them. Radio hissed soft from the command net. "All units, maintain spacing. Report contacts immediate." Weber keyed the mic. "This is Weber 1, advancing, out." No chatter. Good. Silence meant focus, but his gut twisted. The maps back at HQ showed this route clear. Soviet lines thin here, per air photos from 2 days back. Still, scouts hadn't returned from the ridge probe that afternoon. Weber scanned the periscope again. Hills rose sharp on both flanks, drifts piled high like frozen waves. Wind whistled through the vents, carrying a faint metallic tang. Enemy steel. 2 kilometers in. Engine heat built, warming the hull against the -30 bite. Weber shifted in his seat, leg throbbing from the old wound. He ignored it. "Eyes on the draws," he said. Otto nodded, traversing slow. Fritz eased off the throttle over a dip. Snow sprayed up, settling quick. Then a flicker, far right, 800 meters. Shadow against shadow. Weber froze. "Hold! What was that?" Fritz braked, gentle. The tank settled. Silence pressed in. Otto whispered, "Nothing now. Tree, maybe." Weber waited. 10 seconds. 20. Nothing moved. Push on, but slower. They crept ahead. Heartbeat synced with the engine pulse. Weber thought of Anna's last letter, tucked in his jacket. "The bakery smells like spring already. Hurry back." He pushed it down. Focus. 3 kilometers. The valley narrowed, walls closing like jaws. Radio crackled, another platoon leader, distant. Clear so far, snow's deep. Weber replied, brief. Copy. Stay sharp. His crew breathed easier. Hans cracked a joke under breath about hot soup back at base. Weber shot him a look. Save it. But tension eased a notch. Maybe the maps held true. Link up with Paulus's boys by dawn. Airlift supplies in. The pocket could hold another week. Then it shifted. 330 hours. A low rumble echoed off the hills. Not wind, not theirs. Engines, Soviet diesels, deep and hungry. Weber's head snapped up. Contact! Halt! Fritz killed the motor. The tank went dead quiet. They listened. Growls multiplied, bouncing in the cold air. Dozens. Hidden in the drifts, hull down, turrets buried. Weber grabbed the mic. All units, ambush ahead. Soviet armor, multiple. Pull back now. Static answered first. Then panic voices overlapped. We're engaged. Boom. Distant thunder. A friendly tank hit. Secondary explosion lighting the horizon orange. Flares burst overhead. Soviet issue. White light flooded the valley, shadows leaping long. There they were. T-34s, 40 at least, maybe 60. Sloped hulls blending with snow. 76 Senma guns swinging. One spotted Weber's outline, turret whipping. Incoming! Weber yelled. Shell whistled. Impact 50 meters left. Snow erupting in a geyser. The hull shook. Traverse right! AP! Otto cranked. Fired. Recoil slammed them back. Hit. Smoke plumed from a T-34's side. One kill. But the hive woke. Hell broke. Guns barked from both ridges. Tracers streaked red, stitching the ground. Weber's tank rocked. Round glanced the turret ring, sparks flying inside. Reload! Hans slammed home another round, hands steady despite the jolt. Fritz gunned reverse, tracks biting ice. They slid back 20 meters. Another shell cratered ahead, shrapnel pinging armor like hail. Weber's radio screamed, Weber 1, we're burning, bailing. A platoon mate, 300 meters rear. Flames silhouetted men scrambling out, Soviet machine guns opening up, bursts cut them down, 5-6 figures crumpling in the snow. Weber fired again. Otto nailed a second T-34, turret shearing off in a fireball. Heat wave hit their vents. Good shot, but numbers crushed. Soviet flanks moved, infantry now, skis whispering over crust. PPSH subguns chattered, bullets whining off the glacis. Weber dropped to the cokes, squeezed bursts through the hull port. Two shapes fell, rolling downhill. They're closing, Fritz shouted. Engine whined high, but a track caught a rut, jerked them sideways. Escalation hit fast. 0400 hours. More flares. The valley turned daylight bright, every dent and scar visible. Weber counted 20 burning hulks already, half theirs. His company down to 4 tanks, and comms fragmented. Regroup on me, he called. One answered, limping forward, turret smoking. They side by side, firing in tandem. Weber's gunner brewed another Soviet, tracks exploding. Cheers cut short, a round holed the other tank's side. Crew piled out, running, machine gun fire mowed them. All gone. Isolation sank in. Weber's world shrank to the gun sight. Sweat stung eyes. Forward. We punched the center. Fritz floored it, tank lurching ahead. Shells bracketed them, left, right, close. One nicked the barrel, muzzle flash wild, next shot. Soviet T-34s advanced now, 200 meters. Hulls low. Their guns thumped steady. Weber's loader yelled. Shrapnel through a view slit, arm gashed open. Blood sprayed the breech. Weber tied it quick, one hand on the periscope. Keep loading. Psychic weight crushed. No air support, no infantry screen, just steel and fire. Weber spotted a lead T-34, commander waving from the cupola. Arrogant. Hey! Take the turret! Otto fired. Direct hit. The cupola man vanished in red mist, tank slewing wild, but retaliation came instant. Shells slammed their front, armor held, but rivets popped inside, one grazing Weber's cheek. Warm trickled down his neck. He wiped it, tasted copper. The noose tightened. Soviet flanks curled in, cutting retreat. Explosions chained. Another friendly tank, then silence from it. Weber's crew fought mechanical now. Transmission groaned, overheating. Fritz nursed it. "She's dying, sir." Weber nodded grim. One more push. They crested a rise, valley floor exposed, dozens of T-34s below, engines revving to encircle, guns elevated. Weber's breath caught. Outnumbered 30-1 here, alone. Confidence shattered like glass. Infantry swarmed closer, 50 meters, faces gaunt under fur hats. Grenades arced, clanging off the roof. One lodged near the exhaust. Blast rocked them, smoke filling the turret. Coughs choked the air. Otto fired blind, hit something, scream outside. But the tank slowed, track-shedding links. Stuck. Weber made the call. "Button up, bail on my mark." Shell after shell hammered, armor screamed. Inside, fire crept from the engine bay. They held seconds that felt hours. Weber covered the hatch, pistol ready. The valley reeked of burning oil and death. Confidence had led them here, too deep, too sure. Now it trapped them. The encirclement owned the night. The hatch flew open with a metallic screech, cold air rushing in like a slap. Weber vaulted out first, boots sinking into knee-deep snow. Pistol in his right hand, he fired twice at the nearest Soviet infantryman, 30 meters out, subgun swinging. The man jerked back, dropped. Weber's crew followed, Fritz tumbling to the side, Hans clutching his bleeding arm, Otto last, clutching the loader's pistol. They hit the ground running, or trying to, snow dragged at their legs, turning every step into a fight. Bullets whipped past, low and mean. Soviet machine guns nested on the ridges, tracers carving yellow paths through the flare light. Weber glanced back. Their Mark IV squatted there, flames licking from the engine deck. Black smoke coiling up to choke the stars. Another shell hit it, direct, the turret lifting in a whoosh of fire. The explosion lit the valley like a flare, shadows dancing wild. No time to mourn it. "Spread out! Toward the left ridge!" Weber barked. His voice cut through the din, steady despite the burn in his shoulder. They zigzagged, pistols popping. Fritz nailed a ski trooper closing from the flank. Shot to the chest, the man sprawled face down, skis splaying. But the Soviets swarmed thick now, 200 strong at least, pouring from hidden slits in the drifts. PPSH drums chattering, full auto bursts stitching the snow. Hans stumbled, leg buckling. "Keep moving." Weber grabbed his collar, hauled him up. They dragged on together. Breath fogging in ragged clouds. Otto covered rear, firing deliberate. Drop one, reload from his belt pouches. 50 meters gained. The ridge loomed closer, a dark wall pocked with boulders. But the noose pulled tighter. Soviet tanks rumbled forward in the valley floor. T-34s fanning out, spotlights sweeping. One beam caught them, harsh white, pinning their shadows long. "Down!" Weber yelled. They dove behind a snow mound, bullets kicking up puffs around them. The light held, engine growl building, a heavy machine gun joined in, DSHK rounds thudding heavy, cratering the drift. Shrapnel whined past Weber's ear, close enough to feel the wind. He risked a peek. The T-34 was 200 meters back, turret traversing slow. Its commander leaned out, yelling orders in Russian. Weber squeezed off 3 rounds, missed in the shake. The tank's Coke's MG opened up, bullets chewing their cover. Snow flew, stinging like needles. Fritz groaned, hand clamped to his thigh, grazed, blood seeping through trousers. "Can you run?" Weber asked. Fritz nodded grim, teeth gritted. Otto passed him a strip of cloth from his pack. They bound it quick, hands numb from cold. Radio silence from the company. Weber keyed his portable set, clipped to his belt. Crackle, then nothing. The net drowned in static and screams. He pictured the rest. Tanks brewed up one by one, crews bailing into the kill zone. His own platoon, 8 machines at dusk, now ghosts in the firelight. The valley reeked of it all, cordite sharp, fuel burning sweet, blood undercutting the frost. Weber's mind raced. Link up impossible now. Survival first. The ridge offered cover, maybe a draw to slip out, but the Soviets anticipated. Flankers swung wide, cutting angles. They pushed again, low crawl turning to lurch. 20 meters, a grenade sailed in, Soviet stick-type pine handle. It landed short, burst with a crack, shrapnel peppering the air. Hans took a fragment in the calf, hissed through it. "Leave me," he muttered. Weber ignored him, slung the man's good arm over his shoulder. Weight pulled at his wounded shoulder, fresh blood warm under the uniform. Pain sharpened focus. No room for weakness. Infantry closed to 20 meters, faces visible now, beards iced, eyes hard in the flare glow. One charged, bayonet fixed on a Mosin. Otto met him halfway, pistol butt cracking skull. The Soviet went down, rifle clattering, but two more flanked, bursts from hip level. Bullets tugged at Weber's coat, one searing his side. He fired back, hit one in the leg. The man howled, rolled. Otto dropped the second, clean headshot. "Reloading," Otto said, calm as loading a gun. 4 rounds left in Weber's mag. The T-34 loomed larger. Tracks grinding snow to slush. Its spotlight pinned them again, sweeping, deliberate. Weber shoved Hans forward. "Go! I'll hold!" Fritz and Otto dragged the loader, disappearing into a boulder cluster. Weber flattened, breath shallow. The tank halted, 50 meters out. Engine idled low, a Predator pause. Soviet troops fanned around it, probing. Voices carried, Russian curses, orders sharp. They knew the crew was afoot, wounded prey. Weber's pulse hammered. He thought of the maps, the briefings, clear route, thin lines, overconfidence. His own, too, pushed too far, too sure. Now the valley trapped them all. A boot crunched snow nearby. Scout, 10 meters right. Weber rolled left, pistol up, fired once, hit. The man gurgled, clutched throat. But the shot drew fire, bursts converged. Bullets ricocheting off rocks. Weber scrambled, belly down, toward the boulders. Chips flew, one nicking his boot. He reached the cluster, dove in. Fritz and Otto hauled him up. Hans leaned pale against stone, tourniquet tight. "Company's gone," Fritz said, voice flat. Weber nodded. Flames dotted the valley, 20 wrecks at least, half German. Soviet tanks circled the kills, prodding with guns. Survivors? Few. Machine gun nests raked the field, bodies dotting white. 28 from the division here, maybe more scattered. The push, dead. But they weren't done. The ridge draw beckoned, narrow and shadowed. "We take it," Weber said, "or die trying." They moved, linked arms for support. Snow fell heavier now, flakes blurring the flares. Soviet shouts echoed behind, hunting. The tank's engine revved, spotlight questing. Distance grew, 30 meters to the draw. Bullets still snapped, but wilder in the whiteout. Weber's leg burned, vision tunneling. One step, then another. The encirclement pressed, but the night hid cracks. They slipped in, shadows merging with rock. Dawn crept grey, 2 hours off. Weber's group, 4 men battered, hunkered in the draw's mouth. No pursuit yet. Radios dead. The valley below smoldered, a graveyard of steel. Weber bandaged his side, hands steady, confidence broken but will intact. War's lesson clear. The noose waits for the bold. They waited too, for light or death. The 6th Panzer's thrust hung by threads like this. Dawn broke slow over the frozen ridges, a pale smear bleeding into the black. February 17th, 1943, 6:30 hours. The draw where Weber and his 3 crewmen hid twisted like a scar through the hills west of Stalingrad. Snow sifted down, muting the valley's chaos below. But the sounds lingered, distant engines rumbling, Soviet voices barking orders. Weber peered over the lip, binoculars fogged from his breath. The graveyard stretched out, 30 German tanks, twisted hulks. Some still smoking, others gutted shells. T-34s prowled the edges, prodding wrecks with barrels, crews scavenging. Bodies lay scattered, dark stains on white. At least 40 from the 6th Panzer down there, cut down in the first hour. Weber's company gone. 8 tanks, 28 men, all but them. He slid back down, knees crunching crust. Fritz sat with his back to rock, thigh wound bandaged tight, face ashen. Hens leaned nearby, arm and calf wrapped, eyes half shut against the pain. Otto kept watch the other way, pistol across his lap, spare mags lined in the snow. "They're sweeping," Otto said, voice low. Weber nodded. No illusions. The Soviets owned the field now. Hundreds of troops, armor sealing the flanks. Escape meant threading the needle, 5 kilometers to friendly lines. Odds long. But sitting meant capture, or worse. "Move when the snow thickens," Weber said. He checked his side wound. Shallow, stopped bleeding under pressure. Shoulder throbbed from the old hit, but adrenaline dulled it. He passed out the last rations, hard bread, a strip of sausage each. They ate in silence, chewing mechanical. Fritz broke it. "We almost had it, sir. The link-up." Weber met his eyes. "Almost doesn't count." Truth hung there. High Command's push, the maps, the briefings, all built on sand. Confidence in cracking the encirclement. But Zhukov's trap waited, 100 Oran men coiled tight. This valley proved it. Flakes picked up by 700, wind shifting west. Visibility dropped to 200 meters. Weber stood. "Now, single file, quiet." They rose stiff, weapons ready. Otto took point. Probing with his good leg. Weber middle, supporting Hans. Fritz rear, limping but alert. The draw sloped gentle, boulders for cover, iced streams cracking underfoot. They moved slow, breaths measured. Every snap echoed too loud. Weber's mind ticked. Direction by stars, fading, then sun's low arc. Avoid patrols. Hit the step by noon. Signal stragglers. Half a kilometer in. Footsteps muffled by fresh powder. Then a crackle ahead. Branches, no, voices, Russian. Otto dropped, signaled halt. They froze behind a drift. 2 scouts, skis on, rifles slung, talking low. 50 meters up the draw, scanning ground. One pointed their way. Boot prints. Weber's gut sank. The scouts advanced cautious, boots sinking. Otto raised his pistol. Weber shook head. Too risky. Noise would draw the pack. They waited, still as stone. Scouts passed 10 meters left, eyes on the valley side. Close enough to smell tobacco on the wind. They crested a rise, vanished. Push on. Tension coiled tighter. Hans whispered, "Legs numb." Weber gripped his arm. 1 foot. They cleared the draw's mouth at 800, spilling onto open slope. Hills rolled white, no trees, exposure raw. Soviet lines marked by smoke plumes, 2 kilometers south. Friendlies, ghosts on the map, maybe 3 clicks north. They quartered left, hugging contours. Snow blinded but hid. Fritz spotted tracks first, fresh, mechanized. Half tracks, patrolling. They detoured wide, belly crawling a gully, fingers clawed ice, cold burning skin. Euro 900 hours, flare popped distant, Soviet signal. Engines growled closer, T-34s shifting position. Bullets? No, but the hunt spread. Weber's group crested a low rise, dropped into a fold. Breath ragged now. Hans faltered, knelt. "Can't!" Weber hauled him. "You can!" No choice. Behind, shouts rose. Soviet patrol closing the gully they'd left. Distance 400 meters. Bullets cracked, probing shots. One whined overhead. They ran hunched, snow flying. Fritz fired back blind, pistol barking twice. Drew returned fire, bursts chattering, kicking puffs around. They hit a stream bed, iced over, slipped across, boots cracking thin. 300 meters gained. But Hans collapsed, face in snow. Blood seeped fresh from the calf. Weber knelt, checked, fragment worked loose. "Otto, your belt." They retied, tight as wire. Hans groaned, pushed up. "Go!" Weber pulled him anyway. Loyalty or death. The patrol crested, machine gun joining, DSK thudding. Rounds chewed the rise, one splintering ice near Fritz's foot. He yelped, twisted ankle. Slower now. Weber covered, pistol steady, dropped one scout at 150 meters, head snap, body tumble. The fold narrowed to a ravine. They piled in, rocks scraping. Soviet voices echoed, closer. 100 meters. Weber's mind raced. Flank or fight? Fight meant end. They pressed deeper, ravine twisting right, branches low, forcing crouch. Then ambush their way. Soviet squad, 5 men waiting turn, rifles up, surprised faces. Otto fired first. Double tap, 2 down. Chaos erupted. PPSHs answered, full auto. Bullets ricocheted, sparks off stone. Weber shoved Hans behind rock, squeezed trigger. Hit one in shoulder, man, spinning. Fritz nailed another, chest bloom. But numbers. 3rd Soviet flanked left, grenade primed. Weber lunged, tackled him. Pistol jammed in ribs, shot point blank. Grenade rolled free, no pin. Blast rocked the ravine, dirt and snow fountaining. Shrapnel tagged Weber's leg, old wound reopening. Pain lanced white. The last 2 Soviets broke, one dragging the wounded. Pursuit? No time. Weber's crew panted, bloodied, hands out cold, pulse weak. They bound him to Fritz's back. Dead weight now. Otto took lead again, eyes sharp. By 10:30, ravine spat them to step edge. Flat white, wind howling, no cover. Soviet engines droned south, patrols fanning. Weber scanned north, smoke faint. Ours? Maybe. They staggered on, Hans's weight slowing to crawl. Bullets? Sporadic, distant. The encirclement's grip loosened here, but not broken. 2 kilometers left. Fritz's face grayed, carrying double. "Drop him!" he gasped once. Weber's look silenced. No, noon hit. Sun-pierced clouds, glare blinding. They crested final rise. Below, German lines, half-tracks, infantry digging in. Signal flares up. Red. Ours. Weber fired his pistol skyward. 3 shots. Men turned. Rifles raised, then lowered. A runner waved. They stumbled down, collapsing in snow. Medics swarmed. Hans loaded to sled, alive but fading. Fritz and Otto hauled to aid station. Weber last, leg-dragging blood trail. High command tallied by dusk. Operation Thunderbolt shattered. 6th Panzer, 62 tanks lost, 180 dead, 90 captured. The valley alone claimed 28 from Weber's division, plus dozens scattered. Soviet losses, 15 T-34s confirmed, but their numbers held the ring. Paulus's pocket shrank tighter, 250, Rosen starving inside. Relief failed. Manstein pulled back February 18th. Stalingrad's doom sealed. Weber got the patch-up in a frozen tent. Shrapnel out, stitches in, limp permanent now. Brass called him in next day. "Your report saved the flank," the colonel said. "No blame for the push, just facts." Weber nodded. Iron Cross, first class, pinned on. "For the crew," he said. They buried the dead in a mass grave, rifles reversed. Fritz recovered, back to lines. Otto too. Hans didn't. Internal bleed, gone by morning. Weber shipped rear March 4. Anna waited in Rosenheim, bakery warm. He walked with Kane, fixed cars in a shop by 44. War ended for him there. But the valley scarred deep. Confidence in encirclement, too much, too blind. It turned advance to trap, men to ghosts. War strips choices bare. One decision, lives hang. Weber knew, he lived it.